today we're going to put the spotlight on an interesting organization that listed on NEO quite recently, Logiq. And I have the pleasure and the honor of having two key representatives of the organizations here with me, Brent Suen, who is the executive chairman of Logiq, and Tom Furukawa, who is the CEO. No one better to tell us about the organization. Gentlemen, welcome. Really happy to have you on board with us and on this session. And to get things immediately started, I would like to start with what is probably a basic question, but we have to think about our audience. And I'm sure there's parties in the audience today, or we'll look at it later on social media, who don't have a full understanding of what the business is about. So let's maybe start with a bit of a basic overview of what is Logiq doing, what is a value proposition, and what are you doing?
Yeah, sounds good. So Logiq, the core of what we do is we help e-commerce companies succeed globally. And we provide a technology platform to do so. I think we operate primarily in two regions of the world, in Southeast Asia and also in North America. So I'll focus on Southeast Asia first. In that area, and being an emerging market, mobile is dominant there. And the problem we're solving is to get these small businesses online. And we do that through our Create App product, which allows them to create apps that they can sell their products and services on. And also for restaurants and groceries in that region, getting in a car and going places, it's very difficult. There's a lot of congestion. So we offer a hyper-local pedestrian delivery service through our ATOS Go product for restaurants and grocery stores. And also ATOS Go has a digital wallet, which is our fintech solution. And then let's move to North America, where the e-com climate is very different, right? Businesses are already online. With platforms like Shopify, it's easier than ever to get your business online. But the challenge is getting customers to come to your store and buy your products or service, right? So lead gen, customer acquisition is where we focus. In that area, we have an ad tech, MarTech platform. So first is Logiq Consumer Marketplace. So we're in about 10 key industry verticals, some of them around home improvement, insurance, for example. And so we have lots of consumer profile data that we convert in the form of leads, and we help drive growth for these brands in our key verticals. And the second piece of the platform we offer in North America is Logiq Digital Marketing. So this is our software as a service platform. It's focused on small to medium-sized agencies, and it's an AI-driven consumer data engagement scoring engine embedded. And with this platform, small to medium-sized agencies can run digital marketing campaigns across desktop, mobile web apps, desktops, connected TV, streaming services. And also, we recently launched the support for audio advertising. So that's Logiq in a nutshell.
Thank you, Tom. That is a thorough overview and gives us both a view on your regional presence as well as the types of services and products that you offer. How would you define? How would you assess currently? Could you share some data points about that? Where you are from a market penetration perspective at this stage?
Yeah, sure. So. We'll talk about Southeast Asia first, and then Brent, please chime in if you want to cover some more details there. Within that region, and really getting small businesses to go online via mobile and provide payment services, it's really interesting if you look at Indonesia and different use cases that the platform supports. And so we're succeeding there. And I don't want to give away too much, but there's also obviously other regions in Southeast Asia that have very similar market conditions and problems that we can solve for businesses and consumers. So expansion into that area is a key part of our growth strategy for AppLogic.
Yeah.
And in North America, what's actually interesting is the e-commerce landscape is actually very unfair to small to medium-sized businesses. And if you look at the pie of e-commerce sales, you see that the top 10 e-commerce companies accounts for 63% of all online sales. Right? So that is not a healthy marketplace. And so for us, it's really taking enterprise technology that was really only available to the big multi-million-dollar budget agencies and allowing and giving access to SMBs to be able to compete in that space. And so we are, continuing to sign customers. You've seen some of the partnerships that we've launched and press released. And so, this is a 500,000 customer opportunity, and we're winning them one at a time, a week at a time. So things are going well.
That's great to hear. One question that was brought up and I think fits nicely in a discussion we have now. Can you share any info, color on what the short-term catalysts are in the business?
The short-term catalysts?
Yeah.
Yeah. So in terms of what we're starting to see is, I'll start with on the North American side, is that we start to talk to clients, especially on the SMB digital agency side. Still today, transparency is a problem. Right? So imagine you're running a digital marketing campaign and you say, okay, so for $100 that you spend, we'll charge you X percentage of media. And that's what you agree upon. But when you actually get the bill, it's different. And there's these fees, right, that gets added and added and added that you didn't plan on. What that means is that the $100 is not all going toward your media campaign, maybe half of it. Or it fluctuates every month, or you can't run, your business that way. And even as simple as for us coming and saying, we're going to offer enterprise technology, we're going to give you all the targeting and first-party data, and we'll give you AI technology, and we have a fixed cost program. That in itself is music to people's ears. And the other part is the flexibility of our platform. And audio is a good example. That's a lot of it's driven by customer needs. And so we signed up an agency and they said, hey, we really want to dive into audio. And we're like, okay, we can add that. How long? Very quickly, quicker than anybody else. And we did it, launched it, and we press released it. The other areas I want to hint at a little bit is also accessing inventory outside of the United States. So this is still US agencies, but they want to offer their clients advertising campaigns, especially like in Asia Pacific. And so for us, being able to add international inventory into our platform, we're doing that very quickly and offering that. And so I think these type of catalysts is really interesting. It's a lot of it's customer led, and what we're finding in the SMB, the technologies available for them today is inadequate. And that's the thesis of us coming in and really entering this ad tech marketplace and starting to prove itself out.
Yeah. Thanks, Tom. Brent, anything you wanna add on the thoughts of catalysts in the business?
Sure. I think Tom did a fine job on outlining that. I would also add in that given our recent IPO under the NEO, that has also given way to broader visibility amongst the investment community. And I think as many people have seen, when you have smaller companies go through an IPO, you don't see a tremendous amount of activity right off the bat, but given the fact that they are then listed on a senior exchange, a tier 1 global exchange as the NEO, what that does is it really opens it up so that when people start to come in, ask the questions, do the due diligence, and look at you, they realize that in order to get to that exchange, you went through a tremendous amount of due diligence in vetting, which adds a great deal of comfort, especially amongst institutional investors. So that's I think another catalyst in addition to what Tom was describing, which would be more along the stock market side of things.
Yeah, which is important for investors, and I think you make indeed a couple of key points. You don't just get listed like that on a senior exchange. You need to comply with standards and requirements, and all of those, in fact, are either related to where the company is in its journey, and you need to be at a certain level, I would say, of activity or capital to be able to list. But then you also have to your point, lots of obligations from a governance perspective, from a financial controls perspective, from a financial reporting perspective, which are totally different than what you see in a venture space, and which is indeed very important to institutional investors. But we're not here to talk about Neo or the exchanges, even though I do believe that you're absolutely right. It is an important catalyst for
Sure.
investors. But let's come back to Logiq. So you give us a good view, Tom, of where the company is doing. Some of the key catalysts that you see that will clearly further unlock your business and your way forward. How do I look at Logiq in the long term? Like what is your vision if you look at things on the longer term?
Yeah, so in the long term, I'll take a step back. Right, this year and a lot of last year was really acquiring the right technology to be able to be in this space. Right, this year is investment. So we've now integrated the acquisitions we made last year, right, and really formed this business for Logiq Digital Marketing Consumer Marketplace. And so that's really about growing those two businesses, exploring different verticals, and continuing to sign up more and more agencies. And what's amazing is the traction and the attention we're getting is pretty amazing. And so now we have to staff up our customer success teams and also our sales teams, and that's what we're investing in. Now, one thing that to note is across the executive team, we all have global experiences. And so in my previous life, I've launched software platforms in digital media and digital advertising into Europe and into Asia Pacific. And then with the experience of the Wayland team, now that gives us Southeast Asia experience as well. And so these are steps that we are looking at in terms of expanding globally and internationally, but we're going to do that very carefully. And a lot of it's going to be customer driven. And so that's where we start to see, okay, we need Asia Pacific inventory. We're also doing some exploratory conversations around LATAM, for example, which has very similar characteristics. And so, yeah, I do see us being a global company focused on a software as a service platform. But also what's important is we focus on the areas that we're succeeding in today, with the Southeast Asia and North America. Yeah.
So if I would say that with a few different words, you put in place the foundation, you got the technology, you integrated it. Now lots of focus on growing the business and building momentum, and you see that momentum developing. And then from a longer term perspective, it's about looking how you're going to expand beyond the two regions where you are today, and that is your growth path. Part of your longer term strategy is really about geographical expansion. Is that a fair point, or are you also thinking about some other services or extensions from that perspective?
Right. Yeah. So for your first point, yes, expansion to other geographies. But I think as an organization, we found ourselves to be very good at diligencing and acquiring and integrating companies. And so that's another big step for us. And this is where, being on a tier one exchange will really get us to that next set of growth through acquisition and also organic growth as well. And, I think some of the acquisitions we've done are smaller in nature, but it gave us a technology foundation. I think the next set we have our eyes on is something that's much bigger and more accretive to the overall company profile.
Okay, that's interesting, and that is what I was trying to bring out a little bit indeed. So you are continuing to look at other acquisition opportunities to continue to develop your offering, and then maybe also, I assume, your market penetration, because acquisitions can be let's call it assets that you use as part of your services and your products, but it can also, of course, relate to clients and client base.
Absolutely.
You talk a little bit, Tom, about the team and the experience and what it gives you globally, in fact. But if you look at what your organization does And I'm looking at it as let's say as an investor. If you look what your organization does, you compare yourself with whoever the comparables are. I'll let you maybe react a bit on that. You mentioned Shopify earlier, but besides the team, and you may want to expand on that, what else would you say makes you unique? What else makes your organization different from competition in the space?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so let's focus a little bit on the team as well, right? Because for me, what we do is very, very hard, right? And the adjustments we made last year to the revenue profile now and margin profiles, it's a lot of hard work, but you have to have people who've been there, right? Who've actually, gone through these hard, decisions and really execute. And so to me, I love the team that we have because we have a really great blend of industry experts as well as finance and capital markets expertise. So I'll rattle off a few of these companies that the management team, the board of directors have been on as very senior positions. So it's companies like IBM, Yahoo, Axiom, LiveRamp, Omnicom, Adobe, right? And then also Scoders, Bear Stearns, Lehman Brothers, the economics. And so it's a wonderful team because we can talk both strategy and also talk capital markets and blend those together to have a cohesive plan that then we execute on. And so we have a lot of difficult conversations, with our team, and I like that, an open and honest, difficult conversations, so we know we can, have a team and execute together. And I think we've showed that we can do that. Now, the other side of these things is really around, our technology. And so at the end of the day, it's really about data, right? Really being able to ingest massive amounts of data, harvest it, and execute it through omni-channel marketing programs, right? Across web, mobile, connected TV, apps, and now audio. And we mentioned transparency, right? So we're a trusted partner for agencies. And agencies is a great model because that's a one-to-many model, right? When we sign up agencies, they come with hundreds of customers, right? And so we see our agencies as our clients, and then the customers as our clients, customers and brands. And so we get to really learn through every agency that we sign up, and we have now relationships with thousands of brands. The other thing I want to mention is kind of the open and the adaptability of our technology platform. It's nice that we don't have sort of a legacy platform where it's hard to add new things. So a couple of examples is, for example, ATOS Go Digital Wallet. Right, the use cases there is it continues to increase. So everything from buying minutes on your phone or data on your phone to now you can actually pay for driver's license services like that. That's insane, and that's all through a really nice platform. And then we also mentioned the audio advertising, right, and also the Peer 39 data partnerships. So those things we've already designed the platform to be able to add new sources of inventory, new data sources, and launch it very quickly. And audio, I just want to spend a moment. It's really interesting. It's now become a tier 1 advertising platform. eMarketer says that it's going to surpass $1 billion this year and double to $2 billion by 2023. And then, Carrot, the agencies, it's one of the year's hottest media trends, which is wonderful. But what I'm talking about is advertising that goes on podcasts, right? On Pandora, on Spotify. And, I'm a podcast junkie. I'm sure you guys are as well. And those advertising you hear within it, we can provide those ad placements to our agencies, which is fantastic.
Yep. So, extremely solid team, and Tom, I can only but underline the importance of having capital markets knowledge in an organization. I think when companies grow, need to raise additional capital, go public, many companies underestimate the importance of having that relevant expertise and the team in an organization to be successful, because it is a complex world. It is a complex world, and there's lots of different interests at play. And I think that kind of experience on top of your core business experience, I think it's critical. And then the two other elements that I really hear is an extremely adaptable and flexible technology I think that is critical for everyone in today's world, because we're living in a world of innovation. We're living in a world of continuous change, of new needs developing or new trends developing, and being able to react to that quickly, puts you at the forefront and makes you a winner in the environment. So I think you got some pretty solid assets there to build upon. Let me take you to a different question. I'm maybe going to send this one, Brent, to you, and that one is, I'm getting back to me being an investor. So I look at Logiq. I hear what you have done so far. I've seen your achievements so far. I see your plan. You call it your short-term plan, and then your longer-term strategy going forward. As an investor, why should I invest? Why should I buy the stock today? Am I too late? Am I too early? What is this the moment, and why is it the moment?
It's absolutely the moment, and for reference, 2 weeks ago, I actually bought shares in the open market at this price, in fact. And so, why would an investor want to come in right now? I think if you look at our valuation, our current valuation is about right at 2 times revenues, which is the benchmark metric in our peer space. If you look at the average across companies that operate in our space, you'll see that average at around 21 times revenues. So 10 times higher than where we are. So why is that? Well, last year, there existed two primary reasons. One, we were only on the OTC market. So, a market, not an exchange. So doing our IPO in the NEO removed that one. So now we are on a tier 1 global exchange. The other reason that a valuation would be below its peers has to do with the profile of the company in terms of their revenue model, margin profile. Last year and in previous years, our gross margins were in the teens. If you look at where we went last year during COVID, and this actually traces back to what Tom was just describing in terms of our senior team, being able to evaluate and work through challenges due to our histories and our tenure in various industries, I believe we've executed very well, because coming out of last year and going into Q1, and we haven't reported Q2 yet, but I think what investors will see is we've almost doubled our gross margin profile. And that alone is what has separated our peers from us. The average gross margin profile you'll see on most companies that operate in e-commerce enablement is upwards of 30%. And we're right there. We expect that to continue to trend upwards. You'll see our sequential growth start to look more exponential as we move forward and onboard new customers, as Tom was describing. And then one thing I would say, which both of you had touched on earlier, when we set out to do this 6 years ago, the goal was always to become a $1 billion enterprise. And in doing so, it doesn't just mean you get to $1 billion in revenues. You can actually attain $1 billion valuation, which if we were trading at peer comps right now, we would be there. And so what does that do? Well, yes, it enables funding for further expansion. And it also, as Tom just described, enables strategic acquisitions, where then you can then acquire privately held companies that are valued at low multiples and have the valuation arbitrage, where our stock as currency at a higher valuation enables us to make those acquisitions and then fulfill that $1 billion path in terms of the revenue stream. And then the two feed off of each other. So I absolutely believe now is the best time to be an investor in our company, and we've executed tremendously well, and we'll continue to do so.
Yeah, no, I hear your points. At the end of the day, how do you assess it? You look at comparables, and currently, to your point, your multiples are much lower than than comparables in the market. You gave the reasons why, and I think what is going to be very critical, and today, of course, is one example of this. That is to spread out the message. That is what is very important, and I think, as your earlier point, being on a senior exchange is important, but it's also about spreading out that message, and that is probably the one thought that I always share with companies when they go public. I talked earlier a little bit about the importance of capital markets presence in the organization, but there's also the entire component of communication about your growth and your success, and reaching that community of investors, because once they get the information, they will understand what you just said today, Brent. Thank you for sharing this information. I think it was very valuable, and sharing your insights. And I think what is very important, as I mentioned earlier, let's make sure that we'll continue to do that, because I have no doubts that investors are going to find you and going to realize the opportunity that you represent. Tom, Brent, thank you very much for your time, and looking forward to follow from very close by your journey of growth, and I have no doubt further success.